Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's tutorial I'll be sharing with you how to draft a princess bustier with a front zipper and a back waistline. So guys, I'm going to start with marking out my zipper allowance, which is 1.5 inches. I also made a starting line which will serve as my shoulder line. So I'm just going to proceed with marking out my vertical measurements. I have from my shoulder to chest line 8 inches, shoulder to bust line 10 inches, shoulder to under bust 13 inches, shoulder to waistline 16 inches, but I added 1 inch to that, which made it 17 inches because I did not want it too short. I'm going to go ahead to draw out my lines using my ruler. So on my shoulder line, I'll be dividing my shoulder measurement by 2, and I'll add half an inch to that, which is 8 inches. I'm also going to mark 8 inches on my chest line and then connect it with my ruler, and also mark 3 inches as my neck width. And on my armhole line, I'm going to mark 1 inch and connect it to the neck width for my shoulder slant. And whatsoever I have left on that line, I'm going to divide it by 2, mark half an inch inwards. So here I have my chest line, my bust line, my under bust, my waistline. I'll be dividing my bust circumference by 2, which is 9 inches, and then connecting the 3 points together using my French curve, just like this. After that, I'll mark my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, which is 7 inches, and 7 inches divided by 2 is 3.5 inches. So I'll mark 3.5 inches across my bust line, my under bust line, and down to my waistline. Now for my neck depth, I'm just going to go down by 1 inch below my bust line and connect it to my neck width. So this will be my neck depth for my front pattern, and I'll extend my zipper allowance this way. So this part here will be for my zipper. This is my zipper allowance. So guys, I'll be adding another pattern paper to this so as to extend my pattern to where I have my hip line. So for my waistline, I'll mark 9 inches downwards for my hip line. So over here I have my hip line. I'm also going to extend my zipper allowance down to where I have my hip line, marking 1.5 inches to connect it to the upper part of my drafted pattern. I'm also going to extend my bust band to where I have my hip line, and on the side going towards the zipper, I'm going to mark ½ inch, and on the side going towards the side of my pattern, I'm going to mark 1.5 inches and connect it all the way down to my hip line. I'm going to mark that on the under bust, the waistline, and the hip line. Now I'm going to mark 1 inch below the bust line and connect it to the under bust line using my French curve. On my armhole, I'll be dividing my armhole measurement by 2, and I'll mark the midpoint. I'll be connecting that point to where I have my bust line. And on my armhole, I'll go down by 1.5 inches and then connect it to the bust line. I'll go ahead and extend the second line by 1.5 inches so as to close the gap when sewing. In order not to have any shortage of fabric, I'm just going to extend it by 1.5 inches and replace it at the chest line. So this is my new armhole curve at the chest line. So I have my bust circumference divided by 4, and I have my waist circumference divided by 4. I'll be replacing that dart intake, which is 2 inches. I'll do the same for the hip. My hip circumference divided by 4 and adding 2 inches as the dart intake I have there. And I'll be connecting the 3 points together with my ruler. So guys, I'm done drafting the front pattern, and I'll just go ahead to shade out the parts that will not be needed. This part here will not be needed. I'm going to cut out the excesses I have below the hip line. And then cut out this dart intake here. So guys, while cutting, you will stop at the 1 inch below the bust line. Don't cut beyond that because you will have to make your back's waistline before you proceed with the other parts. Before you proceed with cutting the other parts. On top of the side front and pin at 1/2 inch, you will place them right sides, facing right sides, just like this, and pin at 1/2 inch, and then turn it over to the right side. Make sure that you place the waistline to align with the other side of the waistline, and mark 1/2 inch below the waistline and connect it to the side of the waistline. Connect it to the side front of the waistline. Now extend your zipper in a straight way and not in a slant way so that you'll be able to fix your zipper properly and then cut it out. When you're done with that, take off the pins and cut out the little excesses you have at the center front. You can go ahead to add your sewing allowance. So I did that here. I made a straight line this way. So guys, after all the drafting and cutting, you will have your pattern looking like this. So that when you're sewing at 1/2 inch, joining the two pieces together, when you open it up, you will have the end of that box effect looking straight. So guys, this is it for the front pattern. And for the back pattern, to just be the regular back pattern of using the normal dart at the back pattern. So guys, for the back pattern, I went ahead to mark out all my basic lines and also my armhole line. I'm also using 3 inches for the neck width and 1.5 inches for the neck depth for my back pattern. Marking 1 inch at the shoulder line, connecting it to my neck width to make my shoulder slant. And to make my armhole curve, I'm just going to divide my bust circumference by 4 and extend it to the armhole. Marking out my nipple to nipple measurement, which is my bust span, marking 1/2 inch on both sides of that line to make my dart legs. And also for the back pattern, you will mark it 1 inch above the bust line and not 1 inch below the bust line. So guys, after marking out my bust circumference divided by 4 and my waist circumference divided by 4 plus the 1 inch dart intake, I added 1.5 inches as my sewing allowance for the back pattern, just as I did for the front pattern. And note that the back pattern will be on fold. When cutting out on my fabric, I added 1/2 inch all round. I also had to cut out my lining pieces too. So as you can see, I added 1/2 inch all round. And for the back pattern is on fold since the front is with a zipper. So guys, this is the end of this video. Please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.